SFJ 4x4 Studios presents
in my oversized four-wheel drive Jeep.
a Jeep podcast starring industry experts.
Pure Monosity.
What? Say that again.
With mad scientist Scott Brown,
Use my drill press as a sort of lathe.
our host Neil Simpson,
If one light goes out, they all go out.
filled with shenanigans.
We are really professional with Jeeps.
This is I Speak Jeep.
All right. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever, however you are joining us. This is the I Speak Jeep podcast presented by SFJ4x4.com. My name is Neil with Simpson Family Jeeps, and joined today with esteemed colleagues, well-respected industry specialists,
Oh boy!
makes the best podcast we've ever had.
Yeah,
The
have your
producer.
boots on, Jeff.
I guess. The best podcast. Wow.
Yeah, wow, right?
Set the stage. Good
Right?
thing there was no technical difficulties.
The
this week.
Italian
Yeah, right?
stallion, right, who cobbed up our first episode of 2023. But don't worry, his gleaming mug made it one of our most interacted and successful units.
Yes.
To point to his credit. But more importantly, we have the mad scientist,
yeah. Wiring expert this morning.
wiring expert.
That's right.
Oh, that little GenRight work over
Making
there.
lights light that never light before.
Yeah.
Making lights light that never lighted before. I want you to say that
No.
10 times fast.
I'm just glad I got it out the first time.
Oh,
That was impressive.
gracious.
Yes. I should I actually introduce myself or are we
Oh,
good?
it's fine if you want to.
Okay. Only if Jeff is going to.
I was waiting for it.
Do
Yeah.
you not? Are you not
I-
going to introduce yourself?
I am the mad scientist, Scott Brown.
the maddest. And there it is.
There you are, Jeff.
All right.
Ooh.
He made such a big deal about the introduction. And he's just, I'm the mad scientist,
Scott Brown.
Scott Brown. I'm done.
It's
I'm done.
so
Mic drop.
It's
Mic
just
drop.
so classically him. That's right. He's like, I'm in the room, and everybody knows it. I don't need to introduce myself.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and Neil does such a good job doing introductions. I don't feel like I need to either,
Yeah.
but obviously the producer, Jeff Shermani. And we already got our first comment of the morning. Good morning, fellas. Nice to see you all on camera from Brad Davis.
Hey, Brad, thanks for joining us. This is episode 57 of season 3-ish. And regardless of where you're joining us, whether you are, whether we're in your ear holes on your favorite streaming platform, and of course we appreciate that, but also we are live on Facebook. Starting again, roughly 10:19 a.m. We actually go ahead and push the play button today on 10:19, despite the fact that I was making coffee on the floor in the showroom.
He was whining about it. It's like I got all the important stuff hooked up. I had the register.
No.
The
The coffee
phone.
is the most important thing.
I was
The
gonna
fact
say.
that you didn't hook that up for him.
I was gonna
I'm
say.
shocked.
The coffee maker only had about a 12-inch cord, and it was not.
Are you listening, coffee maker people?
It
We
was
need
not
longer
getting the job
cords.
done.
I understand why it's located next to Scott's desk, though. Short cord, short recovery rope. Starting to make sense.
I keep all that stuff in one part of the facility here. The idea was we had a little coffee and drink station for our customers coming through. However, I am probably the number one consumer of
Yes.
that by all means.
100%.
So you can join us, right? So you can join us live and you can comment and be part of the conversation. Additionally, we do go onto the old YouTube on our own library or cataloging podcast channel at the I Speak Jeep podcast channel on YouTube. But that's not to get too confused with the SFJ 4x4 TV, which has awesome how-to videos, infotainment, vlogging, and all those other kind of cool shenanigans that you can join in and be part of our videos. You can see all of us doing some different stuff, from some for tire pressure chalk tests to rotations, to wiring jobs, to, hashtag not a restoration and restoration videos, to, fun event coverage. So, make sure you can join us over there. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe both of those channels so that you get the most regular updates. The I Speak Jeep, and it is important that we continue to talk about that, is a Jeep lifestyle podcast. It is going to have some technical information. Scott and I will certainly get into finite minutia if you allow us, and we'll get pretty nerdy. We will nerd out with the best
Jeff
of
has
them.
a stick, has to whack us
I
once in a
usually
while.
try to keep that train back on the tracks, but once you derail, it's hard to pull you back in.
It is easy for us to derail
100%.
and talk way over most people's experiences.
So the way they gauge it is they watch for my eyes to start glazing over. Once my eyes glaze over, they
Then
know
I
that,
don't care,
Yeah.
and
they know that they got to keep going.
but ultimately, we should further the conversation, or maybe push it into yet another podcast. Time frame. So what's on the agenda today?
So today
Jeffrey?
we're actually going to define what is Jeep life. I
There
think
you
that's
go.
very important because we always talk about the Jeep lifestyle and our podcast, what it has brought us to do outside of Jeeps and why that's still part of Jeep life.
I love to talk about that, and that's such a valuable thing because when we do mention it and we do say I speak Jeep, there is some technical aspect to it people are gravitate towards, but then there is also the lifestyle aspect of it. And we've had the shirts for years that say I speak Jeep, and people always chuckle, and it's a it sells well as far as the shirt is concerned. But ultimately, what does that mean? And then we will have our hashtag not sponsored, our product review, and we'll be talking about the JKS J Connect kit today.
That's correct.
We're going to be installing on a fine JLU.
And behind you guys is actually the kit.
Absolutely. Okay. So we have the nice retail packaging that JKS offers us. And if you've listened to too much of what we have done before, you'll know that they're amongst one of my favorite manufacturers when they have product available. So good stuff there. Ultimately, we always do like to share and talk a little about our own personal lives, what we have going on in projects. If you've been following along with the Mad Scientist, you'll know that he is arduously working inch by inch through what seemed to not be rusty 80-year-old vehicle.
Yes.
And yet here we are 2 years later, piece by piece, as he goes through this this restorative process on his 1936. I'm building a house on top of my many other vehicles that hardly ever run right.
Yep.
And then Jeffrey, he decided to buy a Victorian-esque home and redo piece by piece through the process. So our own pursuits extend beyond our vehicular ones, and this is that opportunity to catch up and share just a little bit about what we've got going on and doing. I would like to talk briefly for 1 second based on my crap experience that happened on Friday, where I normally have had a great opportunity for my big truck, which we've talked about
excited.
before.
You were going to use it for what
I
it
was
for.
excited. I was going to use it for what it was for. We had finally done all of our driving around necessary.
I'm going to cut you off because we had one of our customers come in and they asked where you were at. And I said, oh, he went out to pick up a customer's Jeep today. He has the big rig out like a kid in a candy shop. And she was dying laughing about that.
Totally. Which is if you know anything about me, and the guys said it the best, I'm a frustrated trucker at heart, right? Could never make it as an actual truck driver. God bless them and all that they do for
You'd
for
have
our
to
country.
have like a house attached.
I would, right? I'm too needy for that. But ultimately, the ability to have this cool rig and go out and, and again, if you're unfamiliar with what it is a 47-4900 International crew cab with a 50-foot wedge enclosed.
And very pointy lug nuts.
Yeah,
The whole thing looks cool. I don't care who you are.
especially with all those hidden decals that we added
Yeah,
to it.
100%.
Ah,
Those are much better
goodness.
than lug nuts.
Oh goodness. So I'm going to go and I'm going to attempt to repay a favor for one of our very good customers and friends, the owner of the Angry Turtle.
And it should not be a big deal. We
This
have a
should
trailer.
not be a big deal.
Everything has rubber. All the brakes work. We are at a new heightened level of functionality.
I have never been
No.
in such a good position
There was
where we're
always
not like
a way of, that light works sometimes.
it sort of works.
I'll just wave out the window. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
Chuck wants to know if you'll pick up in Trumbull County.
Not currently.
Not currently. Not currently. Because
We can put it on your waiting list.
yeah, right. Because ultimately, we have this reasonably uneventful day, and again, big shout out to Jason and all that he's done for us as a business and as a friend. And so we're headed down to his house. He's just south of Cleveland, and we're gonna vlog it a little bit, right? So make a video out of it, and oh boy, is it going to be a video. And
And the important thing is, you didn't ask the truck to do anything crazy
I
outlandish.
did not drive it randomly to
Out of
the
fuel.
to the East Coast.
Yeah.
It was not out of fuel. I literally fueled it up appropriately. The thing should be at the tip of its prime at the
Yes.
moment.
Listen, I haven't even been around you for 2 years, and I already know that it cannot be a successful trip without some crazy story.
I don't understand that, right?
Well, I thought we had it too when you had to run his keys to him. I thought, that's it. That's the one hiccup of the trip.
I forgot about that part.
I did
I
not.
may or may not have left without the keys to the ramps of the trailer. And while the Angry Turtle is very big, it doesn't run. And so we were just going to be relying on the random winching of this vehicle that doesn't run. So I had extra battery and we had jumper cables and we were just going to attempt to
We
winch
thought
it
we
onto
were-
the trailer.
Prepared.
That was the extent of the cattywampus shenanigans that I thought I was going to get myself into.
And the truck was like, hold my water.
Yes. So Davey and I
Or
load
diesel
up.
fuel.
Yeah. Don't hold my Yeah, here's my diesel fuel. No, it's Jason's fault and the Angry Turtle's fault,
100%.
right? Because this is the most glitchy, stereotypical. People oftentimes ask about buying a JK, and I love 12 to 14s, except for when I don't. And ultimately, 15 to 18 is also it's second on my list, only because of computer control issues with Chrysler. That's the only piece of why the 15 to 18 doesn't end up in my
We
list
checked the
immediately.
VIN number of the Angry Turtle. Is there any bad numbers in there?
Everything's bad about the Angry Turtle.
Have we tried to bless that yet?
It needs holy water.
It does.
Because
it's on
it
a
just
scream.
It's on its third or fourth TIPM.
Yep.
It's had a couple ECUs.
Yep.
It has wiring. It literally had trees growing in it at one
It
point.
did.
It's
It's bringing new life.
oh man, it was something. It is something.
It's always special when Jason, and Jason's very open to letting you use this vehicle. Wheel it, drive it, whatever. But it's always one of those questions where it goes to do something and you're like, is this new? Is this old?
And it's a super capable vehicle. I
Oh,
mean,
yes.
phenomenally capable. It's sitting 3.5, 4.5 inches.
Yeah.
I think it's on RK springs, but JKS arms and
Yeah.
everything else. Track bars front and
Slightly
rear.
stretched.
Slight stretch to it. Everything's
Trust.
corrected. As far as angles are corrected. Trust. It's a Rubicon. It just flat out works, right?
When it
Um,
wants to.
When it's when it wants to. So completely uneventful, minus the fact that I forget the keys to the ramps.
Which
And so Jeffrey,
it is a big Jeep, but it still needs some ramps because the trailer's big because Neil Simpson.
that's exactly it.
If it was a regular trailer, wouldn't have been a big deal. Would have rinsed right up on there, been fine. But nope.
No,
Big
we're
trailer.
bringing a 10-pound sledge to a finishing nail contest.
Yes.
So we forget the keys. Jeffrey runs me out a set of keys. They're not the right keys. I then have to drive the truck back up into town.
I'm going to clarify. They are the keys you asked for.
That's true. You
brought-
asked for the. You brought me the keys I
Good
asked
job,
for,
Secretary.
which were the wrong keys. So I appreciate what you
It
did.
was very thorough.
You did everything right. I couldn't remember
Just
what the
can't
keys are.
bring the Neil out of the situation.
Yeah,
That's all.
right. We can't remove that.
Well, on your
Maybe
behalf,
I shouldn't have
on your
40 keys to every
on your
different
That's
behalf,
true.
you had two different locks on that. and one of the locks worked.
Why
The
do
key-
I have so many locks on the trailer? I don't understand that either.
So we,
And I just
did
feel
get
like
you
I should
a
rectify
key.
that. Yeah, you got a key. Why do we need 2 different keychains to lock and unlock the trailer is beside me, but yet here we are. Listen, we get on the road. We go there. For whatever reason,
Were bolt
unfortunately,
cutters involved?
there were no bolt cutters. Jeffrey's his mindset was to bring do you have like a log or a brick you can just smack it? And I was like, maybe I could just go into town and get the right keys, which is what I did.
How many locks have you removed with a brick?
I've a couple.
No, you
Okay.
have not.
Yeah, it actually works.
I've never been able. I
I don't want to buy the locks you're buying.
yeah, right. I don't know. I looked at this lock. It's like a safety. It's the round ones.
So the round one, it may or may not. I don't know. I've never done it on the round locks, but any traditional padlock, it'll work on.
Huh. All right.
Hmm.
All right. I have not tried it. If somebody
That
out there
sounds like
listening,
a video required.
if you've tried it and you're listening to us, let us know.
Does a brick work?
Does a brick work? Jeffrey's saying yes. I don't know.
It's a downward impact on where the locking mechanism is.
now
and
it's
Oh,
gonna say
now,
it's
now,
technique-
now, now
technique.
we're getting technical, right? Now we're getting technical.
Hey, you guys
These
get
are the same
technical. I
locks
gotta
the
you
get
use.
technical.
temperature needs to be 32 degrees.
I don't care about the temperature. I don't
All
care
right.
about the temperature.
We truck there because of an unforeseen old man bladder issues, which undoubtedly Davey will probably bring to light in the video. We have to stop a couple times.
It has nothing to do with coffee.
All the coffee. I was pounding a coffee on this drive.
Which is why I don't drink coffee. Can
We-
you imagine the level?
The truck. Oh my God! I don't want to know anything. The truck is flawless. It gets there. He's got this horseshoe driveway. I get in off the street, around the tree. We make appropriate time there. We say, hey, you know what? We're here to pick this up. Cool. Let's do brunch real quick because again, on a social, personal friend level. Okay, cool. We'll go do brunch. Takes us to this nice mom and pop place. We get how we love our dive restaurants. Try something unusual. Leave. Go back to his house.
definitely helps the bathroom stops when you do that.
That's you. That's you.
That's why I
That's
don't drink coffee.
coffee, or you can't eat out when we're doing things.
Yeah,
You're
it's
like, I gotta
terrible.
go to the bathroom now. 20 minutes later, it's running through me. So we go back. We get back to his house. I pull the truck around. Everything is great. I line it up with the Angry Turtle.
And
we
the
start
tire touches the trailer, and
And
everything goes
the
to crap.
tire of the Angry Turtle touches the trailer. We start winching it up there. It's actually working very well.
Too well.
It's too well. I literally said something to the effect of, and, so we get the Jeep on there, right? And I start strapping it down, and I'm like, puff my chest out, straddle the air a little bit. Said, well, if this was 7-8 years ago, I would have had some little dinky trailer, and this wouldn't have been able to get on there. And,
Chink.
yeah, been using
My dad's
come
car.
along, using your come along,
Yeah.
whatever, using ratchet straps to hold it while I reposition the come along or the high lift.
Yep.
A whole shooting match. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this is just too good.
This is what's up.
This is what's up, and I'm ready to leave and get back and have a handful of hours left in the day
And the
to get
international's
business
like,
done.
oh no.
Wait a second. I am totally strapped down. I dress the straps, zippy ties. Davey's taking video, blah, 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 blah. And ultimately, I have this bag that has all the straps in it. I go to take it back to the International to put it in it's the keeper box. And I put it in the box. It is 100% ready to pull out of the driveway. And I look, because I smell a little bit of diesel fuel, and I look under the truck, and it is just the faucet is on, puking fuel. And I had this real high
got the truck
breakover
excited.
angle. I know. I had this real high breakover angle to park to line up with the Angry Turtle, and I thought, oh my God, I scraped the tanks, I did something crazy, blah, blah. No. It just, at the fuel pump assembly, or just before it at the pre-filter, just decided to puke diesel fuel for no apparent reason other than the fact that things were going too well.
I heard that they went so well that Davey had to go take a nap while you assessed.
This story literally ends with Davey taking a darn nap. He's at one point in time we were dealing with the cold because then it turns into a 3-hour
3-hour tour
escapade of trying to figure out how we trail fix on the side. And of course, in fashion of kind of progressive moving forward in life, I've never failed in such a good environment. Jason's got all the tools in his garage or in the Jeep. We're off the road. I'm not on the side of the highway with vehicles going 100 miles an hour. I'm not 3 states away trying to rewire the truck in a
You
Walmart
don't have,
parking lot.
something you have to go do with your family this afternoon.
100%. I didn't
Yeah,
have.
you're not missing a wedding or
I'm
anything.
not missing a wedding.
That's
That's a testament back to Scott's wedding day when I
Yeah.
lifted a Jeep in a driveway
Yeah.
for a
You
customer.
did show up. It was just
I did. Just a little late.
late. Yeah.
This is one of the
probably
best
was
case
early
scenario
for The
issues.
Simpsons, but
They got cake. That's about it. The length of it.
We got cake and some good stories out of it.
Yeah.
sounds like they showed
Food
up for the
was
right
gone.
amount of
We
time.
did show up for the right amount of time. So this was like the best fail forward we could have had. Unfortunately, it does result in Davey taking a nap, Jason having to drive us back home,
Thank you, Jason.
and the truck is still sitting broken down a couple hours away, and I have yet to figure out how we're going to remedy this current situation because the last great kicker of this,
Parts don't exist.
parts don't exist because this is a rare fuel preheater option
Oh God.
that is leaking, and very few of my vehicle application trucks have this. It's what makes it so coup de grace, but ultimately not actually available.
Why do we keep running into this with this truck? There's the rare
not
turbo,
just a truck.
the rare
It's
this,
not
the rare
just a
that.
truck. It's Neil. He tracks it there. This is what happens.
I lobbed that up for him. He just slammed it down.
Slam dunk, slam dunk.
It's like you don't even need to know the rarity when you go to get it. It's just it's automatically built in. If everything lines up, it's like that's going to be really hard to do now.
This is a Neil issue. This is not. Oh, everything.
At least I go into it knowing I expect it because I'm just odd and I like odd things. So
Yeah.
when I get slapped upside the head, I'm like, well, I asked for this.
Yes,
It's
mine
always
is-
laying in wait for Neil. He's not looking for the weird or
I'm
the
not,
crazy.
but yet the big, the bold, the out of
Yeah.
the bigger
It just
than
has
life,
the odd
It just-
in the back, waiting,
waiting.
patient, and smack him upside the head.
The radar, the spotlight has been thrown up to the sky,
Yeah.
and it's,
But
the beacon is out.
I
for
gotta
me.
say, he must attract that type of personnel because
You're all here now.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's-
I literally have the same issue. I watched a ambulance back into a boat
I know.
last week.
Right.
Of all things, in the middle of winter, an ambulance backs into a boat at a gas station.
Why
you
is
had
the
to go
boat
help
out?
him.
I had
Why
questions.
is the boat out?
It was covered in ice.
Well, I would expect so.
They legit had it out on the water.
Oh.
No, that was
Oh
bad
my
choices.
goodness. Oh my goodness.
It was a fishing boat, to be clear, but still.
Doesn't matter in my
Oh
book.
my goodness.
I agree.
What dock were they using? You know what I mean?
I thought
Like,
they were all closed.
I
I
don't
thought
know.
so too.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. So that's what we did. That's what we did Friday, and then ultimately I had a great weekend on the house, but then. And of course, our traditional Slovak Christmas, which is, if you are a viewer, you can see my very pride-driven scarf I'm adorning. Kind of my primary once a year. Authentic family ethnic dinner, which is for a whole other different conversation. And then I have just the most incredible epic fail on my house,
Uh-oh.
attempting to use spray foam window insulation, which ends up with it bulbously just blowing out of the window, dripping down, and covering my hands.
You used too much.
No.
No.
Not Neil.
A thin bead, that stuff expands. And you got the
Have you-
best part is you have the windowsill one, so it doesn't expand as much as the other kinds.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine what would happen if you would have used the regular kind.
I made
Or
choices.
the big crack
Neil
one.
doesn't do anything small.
That
or
is
little.
that's the
He's
reality.
like,
of the
oh, it's a
situation.
small bead. That can't be
It
right.
has to take
I
half
have
a
to
can.
keep filling it up until it's full.
It's like you guys were there. It's like you were there. Did you go see the house night this morning, last night?
No.
Oh, huh. Well, I learned a valuable lesson
Yeah.
after I
Less is
used
more.
after I used an entire can.
Oh my God.
What?
on 1.5 windows.
Those aren't even big windows.
On the small windows. So if you're listening and you're thinking about building your own house right now,
Don't take advice from Neil.
We had an opportunity to get him like one of those old school guy with beard and flannel shirt books for Christmas
You
for how to
should have.
build your house.
You should have.
And I failed.
well,
He
needless to say,
wouldn't have
I-
read
The
it. He
funny
would have
part
just
is it could
laughed
be
about
any
it.
of the guys. Because growing up, there was like 5 guys in flannel with beards that
Yeah.
build houses. It applies to all of those.
yeah.
Yes.
I identify with across. It's 2022. I identify with a lot of things. I
23
suppose.
now.
Oh, it's 23.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
happened.
Oh, it did it. I did it. All right,
Ugh.
all right. I've consumed enough with my own travesties, shenanigans, and breakdowns in life.
Yep.
I saw you dealing painfully with 3-inch pieces of metal
Yes.
for days
So
and days.
I have a problem. It's my own fault and own problem. I on the other side, I was very much seize the day. I'm gonna just do it however it feels, and it's gonna be okay. And I liked it okay then ish.
So
Okay.
it is okay.
And then I go to the other side, and it's less rusty, so there's more originality there, and I like that in my soul.
Yes.
And then I was like, well, instead of making all this new and throwing away the rusted mess, I could just fix this. And it went really well.
Okay.
And I let it think about it on the bench for a couple days.
Yes.
And then I realized,
You let the metal think about
Yes.
its business.
yes.
And
then
metal, you make good choices now.
and then I was like, but now it's going to match the other side. And
This
nobody's
started to
going to
bother
know
you.
this but me. But this really bothers me.
Oh my god.
And the worst part is we're talking about the inside of the bottom of the cowl. The
The
frame
inside of the bottom
of the cowl.
of the cowl.
So we're
Where
talking
literally
about the frame rail is.
Where
You can't
nobody
even see
will
it,
ever see it.
Nobody will
But
ever
me.
see this.
but me.
But you won't even see it once it's assembled.
No, the fender really blocks
The
it.
fender will block it.
Yeah.
The engine is there.
Yeah,
The whole
yeah. So
This is literally one of the parts of the vehicle, the car, that just absolutely matters the least in
100%.
in form.
yeah, as long as it's strong and holds it
Not
together.
function, right? In form.
Yeah. So
And you're like, I'm going to obsess over this.
I-
This is
I
the
did.
hill that I'm going to die on.
I'm thinking about dying on it. I haven't died on it yet.
Okay.
I'm preparing. I have the casket made and open if I want to
Okay.
die on that hill.
Okay.
Because if you're following along, you'll see I made a piece that matches before I put the savable piece back in. I made a mirror copy of that. And that's if I want
The mere copy of what? Of
of the inside of the bottom of the cowl. So that if I want to die on the hill,
yes.
I now have a mirror copy of what I put in the pasture side.
On the passenger side for
The-
the driver's side.
For the driver's side when I tear it back apart like an idiot.
So he went and made it to tempt
you
himself
made
further.
it
I did.
and set it on the back of the shelf
Yes.
while you're looking at the
And if you
original
if you're
piece.
following along, you'll see I said for later use, possibly.
You made a piece
Yeah.
in case your own OCD takes over
Yes.
and says, I can't actually use this nice original piece that is
It
salvageable.
doesn't exist.
I
on that
was
side.
I was all
Oh.
on board on stopping you from doing this and tearing it apart, but you already made the piece. You're committed. Just do it.
Well, then the worst part is, so I had to buy it out. That ironically, the inside was not as rusty. The outside was much rustier. I think that's a word. Anyway, and you buy the panels
It's
as
you.
pairs.
Anybody who's listening to this already knows that you're not the Oxford Dictionary
We are
that we're going to.
We're going to do an episode on Scott's dictionary.
Yeah, we should do that. I bet you could sell books of that. Anyway, it has a really wide bead on this body panel, and I don't have the tooling to make that yet.
Amy says, "Good morning, guys."
Good morning, honey. And I bought these panels, but they come as a pair to tempt me to fix the other side. Because now I have the powder patch that I could use, and I have the inner patch that I could use.
Your wife also just chimed in saying, "I've been trying to talk him down, but I'm losing."
And it sounds to me, it sounds like he's talking himself into this. Just
He absolutely
after 20
is.
years of friendship, I know where this ends.
Yeah,
He's going to do it.
It's cut apart the other side, probably.
Oh.
I'm gonna relish. I'm gonna get the car completely solid for 5 minutes and relish in the fact there's no rust, and then probably tear it apart again just because.
Wow.
And then when I'm not driving this summer, I'll kick myself, but that's fine.
That's what I'm saying. Is we're creating obstacles where they don't exist.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Welcome to building an 86-year-old car.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yes. And then I suppose lastly, before we transition into the actual the meat and potatoes of our episode, I saw you are continuing to play with really cool implements of creativity, building a workstation.
Yes.
For your wife's new laser. Is it laser?
Yeah, it's a laser cutter, engraver. I don't.
Okay.
It's in that category.
It's a big, expensive apparatus
gets
that
better,
most households don't even
No.
know or think that they need, that they would
They
invest
watch
in.
a video and they're like, "That's
That's
quaint.
cool.
I will never own that."
I don't
Jeff's
need to own
like,
that. Jeff's like,
hold my beer.
Here I am, and I'm going to build you the workstation for it.
No, well,
it gets
he
better.
tried not to.
Well, so I started off with we were going to try to use one of her existing desks, and it's just not big enough.
That was vetoed.
Okay.
Well, it's not big enough, so I had to build a custom
Did
desk.
he veto it, or
I-
did she?
She did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we had to.
All right, so there's
There's backstory to
she,
this.
she went to go try to find a desk that she could buy, and I said, no, I can custom make you a desk. That's where I went wrong.
Okay.
Because I made the custom desk, but as I'm working on framing this out, she's sending me all the different types of enclosures to make it more safe for
Because
use
there
in
was
the
a
house.
smell.
Because there's odors. You're supposed to have if you're going to use it indoors, you're
They
supposed to use
gas
an
off
enclosure.
somehow.
Yeah.
Well, they're cutting plastic, so
yeah.
Okay.
With a laser.
lasers.
Right.
With lasers.
So
so most industrial-esque places where this machine belongs.
Right, there's a hood,
There's a
an
hood,
event, there's an
vacuum stuff.
MSDS
Yes.
forms on the wall.
100%.
so anyways,
You
this
punch
leads
in
to
and punch out.
You punch in and you punch out.
I build her a custom workstation. I stain it, polyurethane it. It's in place. It's got a nice angle to it, so it's got the big wide section for the tool and a smaller desk section for her to use for regular office or for programming the tool.
But Jeff has set a precedence at this point because he's like, no, don't go buy. I will make.
That's
so,
right.
So now
I
have
will make.
now I have to make the enclosure, and she's sending me all these different ideas.
Of
and
course, they love, and they find it on Etsy, and of course, or Pinterest.
Let
And-
me tell you that I didn't know the trouble I was getting in when I got her this tool. There is dedicated Facebook groups to how to custom make all this stuff.
Really.
Of course there is.
So
Not surprised.
no, but it's worse than Etsy. It is so much worse because now they're encouraging you different ways that you could do it.
Of course.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Etsy's just showing you what they want to sell you.
Right.
Yes.
The end product.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I
now
custom made
is
it this way, but now that I've used it, I know that I should actually do it this way and learn
Correct.
from my mistakes.
Literally trying to find an exhaust fan. She's like, well, it's got to be this CFM and it's got to be this. And I'm like,
Yep.
"Wh-
Yep.
what? She's like, well, they
She's
tried
texting
this
Greg on the
CFM and
side.
it
She was
didn't
going to
work.
say she's side texting Greg.
That's literally
she's
what's
side
happening.
texting Greg.
That's got to be. And she goes, she just chimed in, goes, or wood, or metal, or cloth. Definitely fumes. Leather as well. So, anyways, I go to Lowe's, of course.
It had to
Lowe's,
happen.
please.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Yeah,
But
please.
Lowe's, if you would
Weekly-
like to sponsor,
I would love
Jeff,
it if you sponsor me.
Weekend conjugal visit that he has to go to.
Weekend conjugal visit with Lowe's.
Twice this weekend.
Oh!
So I went into Lowe's. It was like 8:40. They close at 9. I'm trying to rush through the store. I've got Xander with me. He's 9 years old. I'm like, dude, you got to
that's-
walk fast.
That's right.
we
put
went-
some pep in your step, boy.
Blinders.
We walked in from the lumber section and ran all the way to the back corner of the store, opposite corner, to get to where the cabinets are. And I'm looking for a clearance wall cabinet that I
Right,
can
right.
use. They only have one in clearance.
Okay.
It's a 239 solid oak finish cabinet, and I'm like,
No.
huh,
no.
that's not gonna work.
No.
And I saw the clearance price was 149. I'm like, well, that's not
That's
much.
not a bad price.
I'm like, that's not much more
Justifying it
than
at this
than
point.
the new unfinished cabinets. And I'm like, I wonder if I could talk them down. So some random associate's trying to finish his job and get out
Yeah,
of
he
there.
just wants
Yeah.
to leave
He's
for the
like,
night.
Why is this guy here? He
He's
should
walking by. I'm like, is there someone that can help me with this? He's like, their cabinets are gone for the day. I'm like, I just want to know if I can get a better price. Let me call a manager.
The manager's like, I just want to go home.
I want to go
He
home.
radios to the manager. Manager's like, what's the price on it? What do we have it marked to? Tell him $80.
Oh,
I'm like, sold. I was gonna offer 90.
Wow.
Your loss, Lowe's. I guess you sponsored me a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I feel like you got your sponsorship out of that.
So I have that now. The only thing that was wrong with it was one of the hinges. The jig must have got cockeyed as it was being made. One of the hinge holes was cut off center, so that it wouldn't work properly.
Right. The door
It's
isn't
a
closing.
super easy fix.
Sure.
However, you pay $239
You
for a
pay-
cabinet.
yeah,
You want it,
you
to,
want
be
it
right.
to be
So
right.
I understand why they were clearancing.
We run into that all the time here in our company. Is like, hey, yeah, I understand that I'm going to take this out and I'm going to beat on it, but I don't want to buy it beat up.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's that. So that is my next step is to,
Nice.
to finish that enclosure. I've got to modify it some. I'm going to change up the way the doors actually operate on the cabinet. So
Sure.
that's where we're at.
That is awesome. All right, so enough about us. We're going to make it about you a little bit by making it about us. So I speak Jeep, and ultimately we have had tremendous success with this specific phrase. And it means something to us, and it might mean something a little different to you. But we want to spend a little bit of time talking about that and saying, what is our perspective? What creates this phrase? And why do we use it? It has ultimately been with us as a business. We've been using it since, honestly, like 12, 13, somewhere in there. So it is a phrase that has been paramount to the business. And ultimately, it's one that I always kind of endeavored into lightly because ultimately it's not meant to specifically represent the vehicular brand. And that's what's important to designate right here and now is say, yes, we have this symbiotic relationship with the actual mothership corporation. However, the idea of what does that brand, what is the accessibility, the mobility of that brand mean to you as an individual, the community that comes with it, the clubs, the technical minutia that a lot of people will get lost in. Those are all things that are kind of encompassed under small j, lowercase j, Jeep, I speak Jeep, to say that is what the Jeep lifestyle is. So for the average consumer, and maybe a little bit for yourselves, because we are all enthusiasts, we're all passionate about this because we are, brand associated. We drive and build and work on Jeep-based vehicles. What is I Speak Jeep from your guys' perspective for that consumer, for that
You're
end user?
gonna love it.
I love everything that you say.
I'm a Jeep translator. I listen to the Jeep speaks to me, and then I make it something that you can understand. Because the vehicle's always telling me what it wants to do.
That is you.
Yeah.
That is you.
To a T.
All
And-
the time, I'm like, the Jeep will tell us what it wants.
Oh, that is his line. God, you are a Jeep translator.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And just because I missed it, Chuck did comment, mad scientist with high standards.
Exceptionally high standards. Exceptionally. And that's what
probably
you
too
get
high.
with. And that is why us as a business, we have exceptionally high standards, and it's why our clientele represents that. Our listenership, our participants. I think that's part of the, again, this swinging dichotomy of these exceptionally high standards and expectations vehicularly, and some of these, egregious, erroneous, bigger than life shenanigans that happened to you, and just how we find ourselves in that conversation. So yes, high standards, but goofy way of getting there. So yes, I Speak Jeep for you is definitely, you're the translator. And ultimately, if you've ever worked with Scott, either on a particular service aspect for you or in a restoration or something he said, you will know that he often uses the phrase, "Oh, the Jeep will tell us what it wants," right? And so, yeah, for you, you are a Jeep translator. Jeffrey, your thoughts in the process?
So to me, the Jeep life and the I Speak Jeep is all about the rugged individualism,
Mhm.
the ability. I'm going to say a word from another podcast that we're working on: the freedom to go on an adventure.
And do half-ton things.
And yeah, I got to do half ton. He was debating having me do 1 ton things this
I
week.
know.
Circling back to my own truck experience, we were trying to see if Jeffrey could pull with his Gladiator, pull the
I have
International
a
plus
strap
the
you can
wedge.
use.
Scott's little I would be in Jeff's back window
Well,
off of
You don't
Scott's
want people to be able to
3-foot
sneak
strap.
in between you.
Nobody's sneaking in between there, man.
That is true.
That is the truth.
I mean, I think there's a possibility I could pull it. I just don't think I could stop.
And that is 100%
Well,
the
he's
case.
got brakes. Sort of.
No, you don't have air brakes if the truck's not running.
Well, that's where we put an air compressor in the back of your truck.
Oh my
And this,
goodness!
this right here is why Chuck's comment about you is so relevant. You're the Jeep whisperer.
Yes.
I've heard that before.
Yes. And or Jeep doctors or
Yeah,
or
heard that
whatnot,
before,
right?
too.
So I speak Jeep. I think, when we talk about the Jeep lifestyle, because of course the little bit, if we talk about just the little bit of criticism that oftentimes or can be thrown at this podcast is they go, oh well, they don't even talk about Jeeps until maybe a few minutes in or 20 minutes in. You're right. That's absolutely true, because for us, and for you ultimately, the Jeep is just one of your vessels for freedom, one of your vessels for adventure. There's a lot more depth to you as a consumer or an enthusiast. And so ultimately, sitting around the campfire, drinking your favorite beverage, sharing stories of the day with your friends, laying under a vehicle, albeit, if you're in the desert at 110 degrees or on a cold, wet concrete floor in the middle of winter, trying to change out the diff fluid or throw a lunchbox locker in or whatever you might be doing. That is all part of the brand. Joining the clubs, having a mission, having a value, those are all things that are part of speaking Jeep. Yeah. Now, when I originally started talking about it, I used to say one of the things that I early on did entrepreneurially was learn how to speak Dana Spicer, right? And so
it is a separate language.
It is a separate language, right? And ultimately, with our magazines and our rags that we grew up with, they would talk technical stuff about Jeeps. Dana axles with this gear ratio, with this angle of suspension, or monoleaf versus 7 leafs, and so on and so forth. Some of that antiquated technology, but a lot of that was very confusing for the entry-level enthusiast. And so, years of Peterson's 4-wheel drive and JP Magazine, I just looked at pictures. I didn't actually know how to speak the language. I spoke Jeep by looking at the pictures, by engaging in the adventures, hey, we're going camping in the high country of Utah in the back of this, J20 truck, and here's this cool story about that. That's how I spoke Jeep. I didn't actually understand the technical minutia of the conversation that they were having, the re-gearing, the traction aids, the so on and so forth. And ultimately, us as a business, the value has been able to, in being able to speak that technical stuff and breaking it down to an easily digestible. Well, why would I need a traction device? What's a traction device? Is that a locker? Well, sort of, but here's why it would benefit you. Oh, what gear ratio should I need? And so for us, we've tried to create an environment where we speak the technical stuff, but present it in such a way that however you speak Jeep, we can meet in the middle.
And that is a challenge for some of us.
Breaking it down, you're saying?
Breaking it down, because I have been talking car for most of my natural life, and I don't know that you can get any more into cars than I am.
I would agree.
Sleep, drink, live.
And
cars.
it's one of the things that I absolutely. I mean, people looking in have oftentimes, certainly in the first couple seasons of the podcast, they really talk about our dynamic, and of course that's one of the things we love bringing in the Italian Stallion, because he adds depth to the conversation. He was off screen, now he's on screen, and be part of it fully. But the fact that I have always loved and appreciated in you that sometimes people get burnt out. You know what I mean?
I don't know how to do that
with cars, right? You don't know how to do that with cars. That is just the reality situation. I have been exposed to so many people who are all in on their their Jeep Cherokee. They're posting all the time on the XJ forums. They're posting pictures of it. They're building it. They're wheeling it. It breaks. They buy another dumpster and they buy steal parts off of it.
100%.
And then a 4-wheeler comes along.
Or suddenly they're into something completely different.
They're into something absolutely completely different. All of a sudden they're into collector trains.
Or making things with their laser.
Absolutely. And the Cherokee sits derelict in the
underneath
the field.
Tree. And that's when the Neil and the Scott go,
Hey,
What are you doing with that?
what are you doing with that?
Cool. That's in my feels right now because my camper's currently sitting under a tree in the backyard.
Well, and there's something to be said about 6 weeks, and maybe in a future date we'll talk about that in either of our podcasts and how we get thrown into with our own enthusiasm and passion versus what is innately part of us. And for you, innately part of you is your vehicular experience.
Yep.
And the fact that oftentimes we've talked about getting respite from a project. So when one of our Jeep builds was taking too long, it's cool to come over here and kind of get energized and passionate about a car build or about you pick up a new cheap mode of transportation, but we're still excited about something vehicular.
Yep.
For me, as much as I love the business and vehicles, I'm attracted to the business aspect, to the entrepreneurship, to the leadership, so on and so forth. And so I can kind of dip in and out of the auto industry as needed. The Jeep life for me is that rugged individualism. It's that DIY, encouragement. It's the community piece. I legitimately tell people I have made deeper and better connections in a for-profit endeavor than I did in 10 years of nonprofit that I did prior to this.
Yep.
And that's a testament to the people that we serve as a business, and then the community that we build as individuals within these walls, because of the Jeep life, of speaking Jeep, So I'm wondering, for our listeners, what does I Speak Jeep mean? And if you have some thoughts on that, feel free to chime in on the conversation, or you're always welcome to text us at the business, and that's a really valuable tool. So you can text us at 440-855-2100, and you can reach out to us. You can actually reach into one of the folks here on the podcast or here at the business, 855-2100.
And that is a text-only number.
That is a text-only number, and we would love to hear from you about what the Jeep life is in of itself. So when we say I Speak Jeep, yes, we're going to talk some technical stuff, but oftentimes we're going to tell those campfire stories. We're going to talk about a philanthropic event, whether it's a toy drive or a charitable activity that another club or another off-road business is participating or putting on. Those are all cool pieces of this Jeep world. And in fact, building a house or building a fire pit or a workstation for this laser machine, those are all things that
are part of the life.
Yep. Right? It's not just the actual wheeling. It's not just the actual application of parts, but the whole lifestyle. And it's really important to note that it transcends just the nuts and bolts of the vehicle. Now, with that said, I always like to say it's just nuts and bolts. So we can always break down those things into their little pieces. But it's valuable to say, that it's more than just the vehicle. It's the people. It's the process. It's the ability
It's the adventure.
It's the adventure, to go on the adventure. And that if you don't know right away, and this is one of the things I love being a kind of a voyeur on internet forums, looking in at healthy clubs that oftentimes, yes, there's some naysayers, but if you have not been on that adventure yet and you ask for a little bit of help, if you ask in the right way, you're typically going to get it. You're typically going to get somebody who says, hey, you know what? This is what I did with my Jeep. This is how we can do this here. You're typically going to find somebody who's willing to help you along the process. And that's what's really valuable about I Speak Jeep. Jeffrey, do we have a transition to head into our hashtag not sponsored?
Yep.
Outstanding.
And now it's time for our product spotlight.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Spotlight.
Hashtag not sponsored.
There's just so many good things you can say about JKS.
I know. And the problem is,
I'm kind of a fanboy.
we are fanboys.
And we have talked about JCast a little bit in the past, so I wanted to focus this one a little more specific to
Specifically on their
a
kit.
lift kit.
To a lift kit. Okay. And so for those of you who are joining us, here's my 30-second elevator pitch on JKS. JKS was an independently owned and created business like 20 plus years ago. It was acquired by a company out of Coldwater, Michigan. Eventually, that company was acquired by Fox. So Fox Racing, Fox Motorsports, RideFox.com, so on and so forth, is the parent company who owns JKS Manufacturing. JKS Manufacturing is intended to be their flagship suspension offering specifically for Jeep vehicles. With all of their kits, they offer 2 product lines. They have Fox shocks and J-Spec shocks. All of their stuff, or the bulk majority of their stuff, is manufactured right in southern Michigan and here in the good US of A. There's your pitch on JKS. If you want to know more, that's where the text-only line, emails, reach out to us on Messenger, follow up in the comments, so on and so forth. But for today's application, we're going to be talking about their lift kit, specifically
J-Connect.
J-Connect. Oftentimes we're asked to kind of weigh in for that consumer who comes in who might not speak the technical minutia of Jeep right away, and they say, well, what do you guys recommend? Factually, both of these lucky individuals that I'm sitting with here have had JKS suspensions on their Jeep or still
I think
do.
Jeff's might be my fault.
So I do have the JT version, but it did not come with control arms at the time. I don't know if it does now, but it did not come with control arms as part of that kit.
So, and that's ultimately what's valuable. Is one of the issues with navigating their website and their offerings is there's actually a couple different versions. I think when they did your kit, because you did it at a quote-unquote early time in the production.
Correct.
And it's so important. People are like, yeah, well, the JTs came out in 19 or the JL came out in 18. Yeah, I don't really care because ultimately the industry always takes about 5 to 7 years to actually truly fully produce kind of a quote-unquote bulletproof product. Unfortunately, it only takes about 3 to 5 more years before the mothership shifts products, but that is just the nature of aftermarket industry development.
Yep.
And it sometimes I feel like it's a little bit of like you're on a track team. If you only ever practice with the JV team, you'll only ever be good as the JV runners. Whereas you're always sprinting against varsity and elite athletes, then you will actually rise to that occasion. The aftermarket industry is that. So ultimately, 1 or 2 product lines emerge ahead with a vehicle. And that's only 1 or 2 vehicles. So they don't really have a huge incentive, or 1 or 2 manufacturers. They don't really have an incentive to optimize their product at that point. So 5-7 years later, they have a lot of competition. They've learned things, the good and the bad. Other people are nipping at their heels. And that's when the products really take off and start to saturate the industry with good quality offerings. So the JL Wrangler at this point, especially with JKS and IRO and a whole bunch of other manufacturers who on their come up who are doing good quality work, we're 5 years into the JL. So now we're actually seeing the peak of their suspension systems. So when yours came out, I think there was some question. You could always get the arms, on the side.
Yep.
But the actual kit, it came with the locks for it so that you could adjust the length of your stock arms
based on the cam position of the
correct
the bolts themselves for our listeners.
And so to me that was good enough to get by. Since then I have added arms, and unfortunately not the JKS. I went with a different route.
Well, you used and that's the value we have talked about. IRO, you're using their front long arm
correct
upgrade. They are one of the only manufacturers on the market who have long arms, full long arm systems for the JL JT platform. So you've coupled it. You made a hybrid kit.
correct.
I think it was so cute. JL JT owners, I see you. When they came out, and a lot of these new owners
The
who were,
system?
make sure you get a lift system.
So it works
This is
together.
the story that I tell people all the time because as a 20-year, 25-year enthusiast, somebody who's grown up in the industry, I watch these people who are
We
on
remember when we were sticking springs from other things and things
Oh,
to make it taller.
right, or go out and get some Durango leafs and
Yes.
find some springs out of a
No, you want
CJ.
S10 leaves.
Oh, S10 leafs. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm thinking, isn't this what you still do in the vintage section?
Well, these fresh-faced, JL, JT owners were like, on the forums, they were like, make sure you get a lift system. It will have everything you need to lift a vehicle appropriately. And I'm
Until
like,
it doesn't.
we're like, no, you're just buying somebody's BS. It used to be called a lift kit. Then we watered down lift kits. Now it's just, people are like, yeah, but it was sold as a lift kit. It's sold as a lift system. And I'm thinking,
Well, isn't
That's
it a
just an
suspension
upchurch.
system?
oh, now it's a suspension system. Or a sandwich artist over here, folks.
Yes. Yep.
So JKS offers a series of different offerings. And so you have the J Venture, which is actually more similar to yours. And typically that's not going to include control arms. That keeps the price point low by giving you the bare necessity of products needed to lift your vehicle to stuff those big tires. That doesn't mean that it's optimized. And oftentimes when you're dealing with us as a customer, we're talking about optimization.
Yeah,
Not
and,
the bare necessity.
and
That's
we can
not why you're
start
coming
you with
here.
that lower price system
Correct.
and
Right.
add things to make it more what it needs to be.
And-
And we're always going to ask you, what do you use your Jeep for?
How do you use your Jeep?
And
right?
what do you want to do in the next 5 years?
And that's the value of a lot of our manufacturers, where they're giving us options and to say, how can I build upon this? We don't ever want to be going backwards necessarily.
Yep.
So the J Venture for JKS is kind of the more economy line, despite the fact you're getting really high quality American made,
Yep.
everything else. And then your J Connect, your J Crawl, and there is one other one, J Control. And I'll get to that. J Control, and I'll just say this real quick, has control arm correction or caster correction brackets. As off-road enthusiasts, we almost never use those.
Yeah, I'd
And
scrape them on things.
I would love to talk about that in a different podcast as far as suspension systems and geometry of control arms and caster correction brackets and so on and so forth. But that's ultimately the J Control kit is caster correction brackets, which lowers your center of your pivot points of your factory control arms. The J Connect is the kit that we sell the most of. And ultimately, that's because it comes with lower control arms. I like to tell people, if you look at the Mopar specific lift kit, specifically for the JL JT platforms, it comes with lower control arms. They're not doing that because they have some nefarious thing in mind. They're not doing it because they're trying to upchurch money out of you. They're doing it because the JL JT is the most caster sensitive, specifically the JLs, the most caster sensitive off-road vehicle we've ever seen to date. And so the J Connect gives us lower control arms, which elongates the front suspension ever so slightly to accommodate for the lift height, keeping everything in the originally engineered planes of geometry. That's a lot of technical minutia. It just works better,
It
is what
drives
you need to
better.
know. It drives better. It handles better on road.
Yep.
Because people are like, well, I'm not going to rock crawl. I don't care.
Yep.
I
Yes.
want you to enjoy it when you jump in it to go get your groceries.
Yep.
We don't want you thinking you need a steering stabilizer.
Shots fired.
Boom.
And we're still hearing that all the time.
All the
Constantly.
time. All the time. So the J Connect kit is going to come with specifically front track bar.
Yep.
It's going to come with lower control arms, typically front and rear, but required front, in my opinion.
Yep.
Obviously, it's going to come with JKS's signature dual rate springs, which are a great ride quality of a varying spring compression rate.
And if you have to do half-ton things, they really help push back.
They help hold up all those half-ton applications that Jeffrey might do.
Yes.
They're going to come typically.
Chuck also was saying, shh. I think he's talking about the steering stabilizer.
Don't tell those secrets out there, dealerships. So it's going to typically come with JKS quicker disconnects, which we have talked about
lot.
just a lot.
Yep.
With JK kits or JKU kits, it's specifically going to come with brake line relocation brackets, which I love. I don't think we use them as much on the JLs
No.
at
No.
2.5 inches, right?
No, because it's got the extra length in the
We have the
wire.
extra length built in there.
We do our little signature nip and tuck, and we're good.
Nip and tuck. But it comes with bump stops as well, typically.
Yep.
And so
And as long as you're not foolish and put too big of tires on
Chuck-
it, which
Chuck
we may
is-
or may not do.
Chuck's on fire today.
Yeah, he's saying through shaft stabilizers fix everything. Fight me.
Chuck, I want you to know I'm looking at you with eyes wide open, wide open right now, Chuck. And I want all of our listeners to know that through steering stabilizers, are the biggest gimmick that ever came out in the last
Why
5
is a
years of
steering
our off-road
stabilizer
industry.
Got to be $300.
That's not a real thing, and my eyes are open to all of you manufacturers and listeners.
Let me ask the importance of the steering stabilizer. You have one on your Jeep, correct?
Nope. I have 40s, tons, no sway bar, and no steering stabilizer. That is not my recommendation for the
You
average
don't want to
user.
fall asleep while driving it.
But I also want to note that my wife is daily driving Chuck Norris right now, and I have no problem. She drives 2 towns over, and I don't have a single reservation about putting her in that Jeep in any type of inclement condition and letting her drive that. I actually had an acquaintance reach out to me this morning. It was like, dang, your toys daily drive? And I was like, yes, because that's what it means to me to have them. They need to flat out work so that when we are down a vehicle, because my wife somehow ruined one of her beautiful 37s, she doesn't watch or listen, so I don't really care. And
Stuff happens.
stuff happens somehow. I don't know how there's a sidewall gash on the inside of her tire. That I can toss her the keys to Chuck Norris and she can drive confidently with no steering stabilizer, with no sway bars.
Yeah.
And I have no reservation
My
with
X-Ray
that.
was the same way.
100%.
I had it the whole time with no steering stabilizer because choices I made in that, but I made sure things were correct. Steering was flat, caster was correct, and it drove great.
So circle that back to this JKS J-Connect kit because I don't want to get too far off the subject. There are manufacturers who are just, believe it or not, consumer, I understand you're always like, well, they're just trying to take money from me. No, they just want to build you a good kit. And that's how I feel about specifically this J-Connect kit. It is straight down the middle. It is not too much. So don't worry if you're not a rock bouncer. I understand that. But it's also not an economy kit, because they want it to work well.
And the important part of that is when you get into it, the Jeep hasn't experienced a trail yet. And it hasn't spoke to you and told you all the things you're going to do.
Absolutely.
Nice thing is about a Jeep.
Spoke to you. He's using his
of
I Speak
course
Jeep,
he
his
is.
Jeep translator.
And the JKS, it will, if you come in and you're like, I'm never going to put my tire in the dirt, it's great for you.
Yep.
And the guy that said, I'm going to go beat it against a rock, good to go.
It's still good for you.
Yep. And it grows with you.
And it grows with you.
Because later on, I guarantee you, in 5 years, if you still have that Jeep, you're going to be in a different point in your life.
You're going to be a different
doing
point, and
stuff.
you're going to go, hey, you know what? I'm really ready to push the limits. And we've had plenty of customers who take this base kit, even Jeffrey's one of them,
Yep.
and then add different control arms later. You go, hey, you know what? I really want more flex out of this. I really need, a little more height. I really want to get this more slinkied out.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's
You can
this
do all
one
of
trail
that.
I want to be able to do now and I didn't know about that trail before, but now I like it.
Yeah, I've got bit
100%.
by the bug, and I'm ready to push a little further.
Yep.
These products allow you to pursue that.
I think my favorite thing about these kits, though, is every time we've installed it for a customer who's like, I may try off-road, I don't know, they come back to us after they've taken it on a trail, and they're like, I was scared to go on that trail, but
The Jeep
everything
just did what it was supposed
did what
to.
it was supposed to, and I think I could do more.
And
Yeah.
we're always like, uh-huh.
Yep. So last little piece about this kit, and I'll just for those of you who are listening, we're going to be able to see it somewhere placed between Scott and my over our shoulders. It has a very nice what they call retail packaging. It has laser cut foam, not from Jeffrey yet, but who knows what he might be doing in the future. They laser cut the foam. They lay out each individual piece so that if you are doing an at-home installation, and we would love to sell you that product so that you could do that. That each little piece is reasonably labeled or identifiable. It's packaged well,
Has good instructions.
has arguably above average instructions by most of our
even when
manufacturer
you're a
standards.
novice mechanic, you can do it in your driveway, right,
You
Jeff?
can, Jeff. Right?
I legit did that.
That's right, Jeff.
How I got
started-
introduced to this business.
Yeah.
That's
Yes,
right. and so it's a consumer friendly product supported by professionals, and I think that's one of the best ways to kind of
Yep.
finally to capture or close this conversation. This is a product that you could buy if you're listening to us. We're happy to ship it to you. And you could endeavor into this yourself, and 9 times out of 10 it's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the beast. All right, folks. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. You got to see our shiny faces if you are joining us on the live. Look for us on YouTube. Should be uploaded to your favorite streaming platform. coming soon in the very, very near future. You're going to tune in with us, and you're going to say or you're going to get to listen. We're going to be talking about Jeep maintenance, right? And the world that we're
Jeepness.
living in. Jeepments?
Jeepnets.
We're going to be, I don't know about that, Scott. I don't know about you.
Add that to the Scott Dictionary.
Scott Dictionary on that one. You're going to want to follow up because we're going to be talking about what kind of maintenance should you be doing, right? Personally, in your driveway, or professionally with, the shop of your choice. So we're going to be talking to that title. That one's going to be called It's the Simple Things. We want you to make that Jeep last and protect your investment. We're going to be talking I Speak Bronco. That's right. You heard it. You're not going to want to
have
miss
a
that
rash
one.
now.
You're not going to want to miss that one. And we're also going to have some all new guests. We're going to be bringing in some individuals from Tech Tire, located here in Ohio, some local club presidents who have reached out and have agreed to be part of the conversation. And we're also going to be bringing on Nada Restorations owner Ryan in the future and bring some of his enthusiasm, his excitement, and his passion to what has made that project what it is. And so we've got great infotainment for you going forward. We hope that you will make either the live, the YouTube video, or this, podcast recording part of your experience throughout the week. We love being part of your Jeep life and how you speak Jeep.
And Kevin just chimed in. Awesome having Jeff on screen with a thumbs up. So
With his beautiful
I'm
shining
sorry
face.
to those that don't like it, but there are fans.
Jeff's got fans, he said. Jeff's got fans. And that's it, folks. Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Jeep on.